What's up, y'all? I wanted to share my kind of like some notes I took this week for this upcoming week. Basically, want to show you guys what my theory is of where we might go and everything. Let's see. So every time I do my watch list, I like to kind of put a quote that I find and this one from Kenneth R. French. What investors really get paid for is holding dogs. Small stocks tend to have higher average returns than big stocks, and value stocks tend to have higher average returns than growth stocks. Found that interesting. But yeah, overall, I think this week it looks to be another busy week. We're entering earnings seasons. Tesla's a big one this week. We have a lot of Fed speakers, followed by retail sales data and Empire State Manufacturing Index. The Hamas Israel war has been adding volatility to the week. We still don't know what it how it's going to unwind, and unfortunately, a lot of innocent lives are being lost. So, my heart goes out to those lost. But with September, I think we're kind of in the seasonality where we have the stock market kind of die, and then in October it usually comes up. But right now, not really sure where we're going. It's looking more bearish, which is not going with seasonality. So I mean, it still feels like it can go either way, especially with earnings. That's the one thing about earnings season is that you may have like a really great setup, and at the end of the day, it doesn't work because of the market. So be careful with that as well. So I wanted to do a little recap on last week. We had like I said, a volatile week. It was interesting to see, CPI was released and the market didn't really react to it as people expected, like that violent move. But then when the bond information was released, I think it was the 30-year bond, like it just dumped on Wednesday, and that's when we made, good money. Especially like I personally made 200% on SPX, and if I would have waited and I went into a work meeting, so I just sold it. I didn't know what the market was gonna do. I would have made 3,000%. So thank you, Profit on that, helping us with that. We had a good day on Zamunda that day. But yeah, overall, it's market's looking pretty volatile. We had um, we started kind of like the beginning of the earnings season with JPM, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo, and they did well, but they sold off, especially JPM, like ended the day in a shooter. Um, we had talks from the FOMC members and all that, so it was an interesting week. Of course, oil initially started going down because they thought, overall, like the war wasn't really gonna affect supply. But then towards the end of the Friday, it shot back up again, because everything is kind of picking up with Israel and Hamas. I think that's how you pronounce it. And then Exxon, of course, is buying Pioneer Natural Resources, so that was interesting. And I'm curious to see how Chevron's going to react to that, see if they're going to buy something else as well. With the strikes, you know, UAW, they still, now they started striking at Ford in Kentucky, which is their largest plant. And so that was a little, I guess it makes Ford even more bearish. And it's their biggest plant. And I think that's where they make the F-150s and all those. So, let's see how that keeps unraveling this week. With inflation, retail inflation slowed down, but it did come in a little bit hotter than expected. So let's see how that unravels the following weeks. This upcoming week, we have um, the UAW continues, to kind of keep that in mind. Earnings on Monday, Charles Schwab. They also have an investor events. Let's see what else. Earnings pre-market. We have or Tuesday we have J&J, Bank of America, LMT, UAL, and GS. So that's going to be interesting. One thing that grabbed my attention was that Baidu is having their world event. So keep an eye on that and keep an eye on China stocks. Let's see what if that impacts in any way. And then this is interesting. The New York Federal Reserve Bank president is gonna have a discussion with the INTC Intel CEO. So keep an eye on INTC as well. The big earning Tesla, everyone's gonna have their eyes on that. PG, I like their setup, but I'm gonna hold off on it because they have earnings this week. But Netflix is another one that I'm pretty sure people are gonna keep an eye out. And then just watch all these stocks on the EV stocks with Tesla, so Rivian, FSR, all those. So as you can see, Fisker and Rivian kind of correlate the most with Tesla. So you can, if you don't want to swing, which I don't like playing earnings, if you want like some sympathy tickers, FSR and Rivian are some good ones. Thursday, we're back at it with UNP, PM, AT&T, and AAL. And then Powell's gonna speak as well, so that's gonna be interesting. And then Friday we have SLB and American Express. So, and as you can see, the healthcare sector will hold one of its biggest conference of the year in Madrid, so that's gonna be interesting. And moving on, the Fear and Greed Index. We're here at the fear. Last week we were at extreme fear. So that's kind of interesting to see how we move this week with all these events. Sector wise, energy has been the leader like this past week, energy and utilities. So that's going to be interesting with tech and consumer cyclical kind of being the ones that aren't doing so well. For the month, we're pretty much all red. It's interesting to see. And then energy again keeping strong this quarter. And so it's, that's when seasonality you can look into that how it affects, you have strong energy and kind of weak tech overall. So for our impacting red folder events, like I said, we have this Empire State Manufacturing Index. We have a lot of FOMC speakers throughout the week. So one of the tips I would give you is write these down or put what I usually do on my cell phone on the alerts or reminder app. I set reminders for all of these. These are in CST, so you can go to forexfactory.com and for these like red folder and orange folder events, or even some that look interesting, especially if it's an FOMC member talking, I like to set an alert, like a reminder, and set it for like to remind me like 5 minutes before it happens, just in case I'm doing something else or I forget. At least I can quickly look at the charts to see how that's gonna impact. And then, like I said here before, we have earnings coming up, bunch of busy week coming up when it comes to earnings. One of the things I like to put on my watch list is I like to set up my trading rules. And so just wanted to give some tips on that. Make sure that you journal every trade. When you're journaling, not only put like your, like your profit loss, like the technical. So yeah, one of the tips I wanted to give is don't just go based on, the technicals of your trade, of course, write those down, like when you entered, like your profit, loss, all that. but also write down your feelings. Like, if it was a win, what were you feeling? If it was a loss, what were you feeling? What did you do wrong, or what did you do right according to your plan? That way you start having a journal of those things as well. And, trading psychology is like, at least for me, has been the biggest part of whether I'm successful or not. So, on a trade. So, writing down all these things will help you keep yourself accountable, find your mistakes, find what you're doing right, and that way you can tweak it, make it better so that you become a better trader. Um, Continue to like try to do your own watch list, try to find your own trades, because having that confidence of you found this because you thought this, it makes you really confident once it's that time to execute. Me personally, I've been enjoying taking like um, longer data trades, even if, for example, like if a trade like I got like 2 months out and I hit 300% on it, and if I would have had been in weeklies, I would have hit like 1,000% or 2,000, whatever. Um, I don't really care because at the end of the day, I didn't get stressed and I was able to execute better because I had that time allowance of if the stock goes down, I don't have to worry too much because my contract's not dying as much or something like that. So always like find how best you trade. Find what you like better. Like some people might love day trading and they love weeklies and that's their bread and butter, which is cool too. And then, like I said, some people might be like me and prefer to swing. I prefer to get um, longer data trades, and that's fine as well. Remember to let the chart stop you out unless you really want to practice getting like those you know, quick percentage returns so that you build that consistency. But for example, if let's say you get in on the 2 week chart, let that time frame stop you out. One of the things that happens when you're swinging is that, for example, you got in on the monthly, let's say, and then you see that the week or the day is not going your way, and you see your contracts come down to 30%, 40%, something like that. Yet you still have 2 to 3 months. But some people get too nervous and get out because they don't like to see that red. Whereas, and then as soon as they get out, like maybe a few days later, it just goes off and they could have made maybe 50 or 100% on that trade. But it's because they let like other time frames stop them out. So yeah, that's one of the tips that I'd like to give you. And just overall, the market's looking a bit bearish. Ignore these lines. Um, but yeah, other than that, I hope everyone has a great week. And look, I'll be posting on Zamunda. So if you're not in Zamunda and would like to follow, feel free to DM me or look for any of my socials. So thanks. Have a great week.